I want to ask you, when you first heard about the idea to make this DVD and put out this CD, what was your initial response?
Well, I didn't hear about it. Actually, we'd been discussing it for about 15 years. And that was obviously before DVDs were invented. But the idea of creating a Led Zeppelin collage has been in the works for that length of time, 15 years. We just didn't really ever have the time to put it together as a project because there was so much concentrated work that was required. So as we all finished our individual projects, Jimmy Page took the helm along with some technical guys, and this is what we've got. Fantastic.
As you said, it wasn't that easy because you're not a band that actually did a lot of documenting.
Quite.
So how did you find the material, and what is the material that does end up in this?
We found the material by going into the tape stores and into general stores that we got. Some of the tins didn't even have labels, no indication of what it was. I think one of them even had Pink Floyd written on it. I mean, there was all sorts of stuff all over the place. And by running little pieces and then working on it frame by frame to clean it up, we finally found out exactly how much stuff we'd got, put it together, and really the project has been very painstakingly worked on. And I think, you know, Jimmy Page is, as an overseer and as a sort of taste commandant, he's done a great job.
Do you expect, this is, you know, as you said, DVDs didn't exist that long ago. A whole new generation might be finding out about Led Zeppelin right now. What do you think that their reaction is going to be?
I haven't got a clue. I mean, to be truthful, what am I going to tell you? In those days when we were kids, the whole deal about music was like you had to be hot and really good. There was no slouches in our band. We were just full on, you know, 100-mile-an-hour players. It was a different time musically, and I think the critic of the time was, the critique was a different, the whole thing was a different setup altogether. So I don't know what people will think. I think they'll grab the energy because you can feel it. It comes right off the screen.
Now, the hullabaloo in London and here, does it strike you as odd, or do you enjoy it? What do you think of all this?
I think it's, I think there's a kind of psychology when you use the word Led Zeppelin. People immediately, it indicates some kind of other form within rock and roll music. And anticipation is an amazing thing with Led Zeppelin because, you know, there were a lot of spectacular moments and there were some dreadful ones too. Obviously, putting this together, we're not going to put the dreadful bits on there. So hopefully it's pretty hot for everybody to see.
Finally, what are your projects that are going on right now? What are you working on?
I've just come back from the Sahara, where I've been in the South Sahara in Mali working with some Tuareg tribal guys playing music of the spheres. It's another thing altogether. But in a way, it kind of echoes the belief that we all had in Led Zeppelin when we tried to vary the music, develop it, take it into new areas all the way through our career. There was never one album that was had nothing to do with the previous ones, generally. We tried to change it around, and that's what I'm doing now.
I understand this has been 15 years in the making. Why did it take so long?
15 years in the making.
You beg to differ, do you?
Yes, I suppose. Yes, in the big scheme of things it was, but I mean, I think they've only been working on this particular material for a couple of years when the Albert Hall footage kind of came to the band. We all sat down and watched it, and we thought, well, there isn't enough footage to make like a concert film out of it. So a DVD we thought was thought was the best idea. And Jimmy went away and found lots more footage, fortunately, stuck it all together, spent a lot of time on it, and he did a great job. And,
You weren't a band that really documented themselves very much, so where did the material come from, and how did you choose what you are including in the DVD?
well, there wasn't a huge choice, to be frank. Unfortunately, the footage that was shot and the audio that was recorded, because obviously we had 8-track tape recorders running at the same time. Fortunately, there were really good performances that we recorded. In fact, there's not a lot else. So it wasn't too difficult to choose. It was just a matter of finding enough to make something out of it.
Does it shock you that there's so much fuss about all of it coming out? Or do you quite enjoy it? What do you think of it all?
Well, I mean, I always knew we were good, and having seen the DVD, I'd forgotten quite how good we were. But it's been really nice. But well, yes, I mean, it's very flattering. It's very gratifying to know that people still are interested and still want to see it. And now we've got something really good to show them. It's really great.
And how much, finally, do you think that another generation will be introduced to Led Zeppelin?
Well, I hope they will. I mean, there's people from before that. Obviously, people who went to the concerts will now get a closer look, but then people who've heard the name of the band and maybe the reputation, but didn't know what, as you say, the fuss was about, now they'll get to see it, and it'll be very nice, I think.
Obviously, this was not an easy task. You are not the most well-documented band. How did you go about finding material, and what did you choose from?
Well, I knew we had material, but I think one of the daunting parts of it really in the past was the fact that we didn't really have very much material, and we were missing a whole section of the Royal Albert Hall. It was in somebody else's hands, and the catalyst for it was getting that back, because once we got it back, then it was we had to pay for it to get it back, and the rest of the band was saying, well, let's put it out. We'll put it out basically to get the money back, I suppose. So I went in to get the 8 tracks with the audio source, and I saw this other stuff, and I thought, you know what? There were 2 times when we officially tried to film the band. The first time was the Royal Albert Hall. That's the stuff we just got back. That was from 1970, and then 1973 here in Madison Square Garden. So I thought, we can't. We got to do this stuff with the Albert Hall. But I could see it on a much bigger picture. But because we only had a limited amount of source material, it wasn't so difficult to be able to make the complete journey of Led Zeppelin, and starting from the early TV promos right through to Nebworth at the end. So that's how I chose it. Just the good performances and a chronological live and visual picture. And we brought in like bootleg sources, anything we could get to augment those particular concerts that we were playing.
I want to ask you also, it sounds like it was an awful lot of work. How did you get excited about the whole thing? When did you just sort of have the idea and think, you know what, I've got to make this happen?
Well, really, when I went to see all the source material that we had, I actually had 2 really good projects on the table for me to do, and they would have spanned maybe 2 years. One of them would have done with all the touring around the world and everything. And I thought, it was really in my blood. I had to do this, and it's just going to bring hours of enjoyment to people, and that's really good. It's just a reassessment of the playing, of how we ticked over, and John Bonham and everything, and it's great.